Hello, everyone. We are trying to do another stream of Locked On Guardians. And why are we going for the stream tonight? It is episode 700. 700 of these episodes. I want to thank all the fans who have helped get us to 700 episodes talking all about your Cleveland Guardians. It's more of an accomplishment for the listeners than it is for me because I wouldn't have had 700 episodes if it wasn't for all the fantastic listeners out there. So I just want to take that moment and say thank you to the Locked On Guardians fans and team and everyone. You are the reason this podcast is still going. You are the reason I am still the host of said podcast. You are the reason I get to do this and have fun with a fantastic group of people. We're going to talk about a no good, very bad game today. We're going to preview the Oakland series. We're going to talk some prospects, take a few questions as well, and we'll see if any questions pop up in the chat. But all of that is coming up on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I know it's a late night stream here, and I'll be honest, this is take two. The first time the stream didn't connect, so I did all the recording, and then nothing appeared over here. So at least this time I can tell you I know it's working. For those who don't know me, again, I've done 700 episodes of this show. I am Jeff Ellis. Before I came to Locked On, I was the lead MLB draft and prospect analyst for Scout 24/7. Before that, I was a featured writer, mostly draft and prospects as well, over at Indians Baseball and Indians Prospect Insider when it first began. And then through that draft coverage, I have appeared on pretty much every Cleveland sports blog, at least if not in article format, in content format, or in quotations through the years. I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. And let's get into I didn't watch all this game. It started when I was at work. I watched the big innings. I jumped in around the fourth to watch everything go haywire, and it was not good on any level. It was a really, that fourth inning, it just made, you couldn't be anything other than, pissed off. Let's be honest, that is an inning where they get 3 runs, and should they have gotten any? If you missed it, Quantrill has to throw to second base. He misses the throw. So that's 1 out you're leaving on the books. Then the very next play, Owen Miller muffs the catch at first base, and that's out number 2 you're giving them. They eventually get 3 across because you gave them 2 additional outs. They didn't need additional help. The Guardians gave them additional help. They get 3 runs right there. So Quantrill's final line in this one was 6 innings, only 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 earned run, but 3 total runs across. And you can go back, Shaw, he gave up a run in the 7th on 2 hits and a walk to get out of the inning after they load the bases due to all those errors. Ernie Clement, sorry, I'm making dad sounds as I move around in my chair. Ernie Clement makes a fantastic throw across the diamond, and I had Zach tweet out, let me know about it. But then, Clement is interesting because, like I said, I got the tweet from Zach Shroom over here on YouTube has been insistent. I'm just kind of curious talking with people like this, and you can go back to when I interviewed my friend and colleague Adam Lieberman, who used to be the media relations for the Akron Rubber Ducks, who that was his sleeper. When I was asking him, who's the under-the-radar guy in system? But for all those people, I'm what about Clement gives you confidence he's going to be more in a backup? To me, it's I don't think there's enough power. I think, he's a good but not great athlete. I think he could be a very strong backup, but I'm just kind of curious to see from people. Because what Clement giveth, Clement taketh away, because they had a chance to get that run at home, but he mishandles the ball, it bobbles. He still gets the sure out at first, but there was a chance to cut down that lead runner in that inning. I mean, things go differently. Maybe this game goes into extras. Now, I don't know if it deserved to go into extras. when Austin Hedges is legitimately like 70% of your production, you probably should lose a game. Let's be honest there. I was talking about yesterday and on Twitter, this is the first time we saw Joe Adell in the whole series because Ohtani got the day off, so they moved Trout to DH, and Adell played in left field. There's been a lot of debate, and a lot of people are like, oh, Cleveland doesn't have any infielders to trade. Cleveland's infielders are terrible. And I just kind of want to take that second. Or I'm sorry, it was Miller's bad throw, and then, or miscatch by Miller is what it was. That's what it was. I was got thrown off as I was looking at this. It's looking at this team, looking at the performance in this game. And then looking at Anaheim, we get very upset with like how bad it's been, and admittedly so. There's a lot of terrible performers offensively for Cleveland right now. All of them have had better production than Andrew Velasquez, the shortstop for the Angels. 359 OPS. That is lower than Franmil. That is lower than Hedges. Franmil is at 413, which is worst on the team. Hedges 536. Ernie Clement 543, just to go back to that conversation. So I don't see how anyone, if your whole thing is like, well, Fletcher will come back. David Fletcher isn't a great defensive shortstop, and Tyler Wade is at 660 OPS right now, likely to go down. That's probably the high water mark. Fletcher should just be a second baseman. This is a team that doesn't really have anyone on the horizon to play shortstop for them. So, yeah, I still think there is a trade to be made. Maybe it's a pitcher plus, maybe or an infielder and a pitching piece. I don't know, but I don't think this Anaheim team can really feel confident in their middle infield combination, though it didn't affect them in this series, did it? 7-12 for the Guardians after, on a 7-game losing streak, 7-5 coming in to New York, and it's just been a disaster show since then. In this game, who reached base twice? Well, you had 2 walks by Miles Straw, and you had 2 hits by Austin Hedges. Jose Ramirez also had a hit, and that's it. That's everyone who reached base. Looking at the opportunities, I apologize. I'm going to say it now. You might be hearing Baby in the background. I feel like I can hear him from here. I know my wife is currently with him, but I'm going to apologize if you do hear Baby in the background. Just going through and doing how I typically like opportunities. It's typically about every 3 opportunities on average nets a run. The Guardians had 4 hits and 2 walks, so 6 opportunities netting 1 run is a low amount. On the other side of things, 6 hits for LA, but 4 walks and 2 errors on Cleveland gave him 12 opportunities. 4 runs is about average for that. That fits that. And that's the thing. It's like those errors, and then even like the errors, like I said, Clement, what happened with him isn't an error, but that might have cost them another run. So yeah, it's a hard game too, like in terms of where I go back, and it's like in every game I look for, who are the stars, who are the 3 stars. The downside to a stream, can't pause it when I feel a cough coming on. Also, the downside of being the only one on the podcast is you get a little bit parched like that, especially when it's take 2. Straw had a hit and 2 walks, so there's one of your stars. Austin Hedges had 2 hits, including a home run. He got the only run across in this one. There's your other star. Do you give it to Jose Ramirez for his 1 hit? Do you give it to Nick Sandlin for having a clean inning? Do you give it to Quantrell because it was 1 earned run in 6 innings? I think in the end you give it to Quantrell for 1 earned run in 6 innings. 3 runs in 6 innings isn't bad, but 1 earned run in particular is why he gets the 3rd star in this one. Cleveland's got Oakland on deck now. That's a team that should be worse than it is. Going over the numbers, I just didn't see it as I thought they'd be bad. I thought they'd be very bad overall. And I was looking at them as a team. I'm like, I don't know if the Guardians are necessarily better, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, I think that this series could still be a tough one this weekend. We're going to take our first commercial break here. I'm going to write down my timestamp. We're going to come back and talk about the Oakland series. After that, I'm going to take a few questions from the listeners of Locked On Guardians here on episode 700. And then we will prospects, questions, Oakland preview, all coming up in a moment. But first, let's talk about one of our great sponsors, BuiltBar.com. I know them, I love them. Right now, they got a free gift over at BuiltBar.com, and they have their new granola bars. I'm very excited and tempted to try these. The white chocolate is already sold out. I'm okay with that because I think they do peanut butter and coconut better than berry, but that's just me. I'm not as big on the berry. But you can right now go there, try their brand new product, and you're getting a free gift on every order. And remember, when you go there, you want to use the promo code LOCKED15. I told the story earlier this week that my friend who's a doctor, I was staying at her house, and I'm like, oh, you got a fridge full of Built Bar. And I'm like, what is, I was like, well, out of curiosity, did you use a promo code? And she's like, the best I could get was 10% off. So LOCKED15 is better than anything else that you will find in terms of savings. It's what I use when I shop from them. And again, if you go there right now, you can buy some new granolas and you get the free travel cooler. Like a little cooler to keep your Built Bars cold. That deal comes and goes. I have one of those travel coolers. They are nice. I use mine. Go to BuiltBar.com today. Maybe you want to try the new granola bar, a brand new experience. Maybe you're like me and you like the yellow chirps, which are like a peep, or the churro, which is just delicious. All the flavors are great. There isn't a bad flavor. You can't go wrong at BuiltBar.com. It gets an A from my health food app. It gets an A from my heart. BuiltBar.com. Remember to use that promo code LOCKED15. Our other fantastic sponsor today is Blue Nile. I talked about the fact that Blue Nile was a sponsor last year, and their jewelry, I can still picture it in my mind. It is a really engaging, interesting piece. It's, Mother's Day is right around the corner. I always struggled with gifts for Mom. Swear she didn't like anything I got her until I had kids, when I could then do things based on pictures. If you want to give a little bit more than that, if you want to do something higher end, something nicer for Mom, something that's going to be interesting and stand out, and a gift for her, go to BlueNile.com today. This Mother's Day, give Mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off $500. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Time to write down the point. You gotta tag everything. Some behind baseball moments here on the podcast. So let's talk about Oakland. Oakland traded away like everything that was not nailed down. They've also had a large COVID issue, much like the Guardians. But they're an interesting team. They have a lot of players that I've been very high on over the years. I talked about Seth Brown as a under the radar trade candidate. Tony Kemp, under the radar trade candidate. Sean Murphy, we all know about by now. Nick Allen, I had in a dozen trades at various points in time. Christian Pache is another one of those we talked about in yesterday's show. The big name prospects that don't always hit. I mean, Pache at one point in time, I believe, was the top outfield prospect in baseball. And if he wasn't, he was still a top 10 overall prospect in baseball. And there's Billy McKinney, who I don't know how. I mean, when there's a nuclear apocalypse, cockroaches and Billy McKinney will survive. He was originally in Oakland. I believe it was like a comp pick. Or did he start was he a draft pick of the Yankees? No, it was Oakland. 24th overall. He has been everywhere. It's amazing to me how many teams. I believe he went over in the deal for Samardzija with Addison Russell, right, back in the day. He has bounced around so much. He's currently spotting all of a 33 runs created plus. It's a bit of a disaster, but that guy he keeps playing. He keeps plugging along. So let's do it. Let's compare these two teams. Let's go position by position. Catcher, Murphy, Hedges, advantage Oakland. We don't need to spend a lot of time there, do we? First base, Seth Brown. Guardians' primary first baseman has been Owen Miller. I lean towards Oakland right now. Now, I know Owen has been better, but Seth Brown has a little bit more of a track record. Neither is really a natural first baseman. So we'll have to see how it goes. This is one of those that could completely flip in a little bit of time. But for now, I lean Oakland. Second base, Nick Allen has really struggled. Andres Jimenez has been great. Advantage Cleveland. Both of them should be playing shortstops for their teams. Allen is the shortstop of the future. Elvis Andrus is playing out a big contract, and then he'll be gone at the end of this year. It's ridiculous that they are having Nick Allen, who's like main skill, and he's like 5'6". I mean, he's listed at 5'8", but I mean, you'll see when you watch. He is not a big guy. His defense was his calling card, and they're sitting there, and it's the same situation we're seeing. Thanks, Tony. Tony, I actually have a question from you coming up later on in the show. Appreciate that. Thank you. I would type something in, but I know if I spent the time to sit and type, I would then lose my train of thought like I just did right there. So getting back into these position by position comparisons, we have Oakland up 1 as we move to shortstop. Andrus versus Ahmed. Push. Ahmed has been awful. You know, I was talked about my dad many times on the show. I was talking to someone about Medicare insurance and this stuff, and the person was asking me about, oh, he said, you still like Ohio sports and this and that. He's like, well, what's wrong with this Guardians team? I'm like, honestly, they're just not that talented, right? Like, they have so many holes and so many guys underperforming. There's some great players, and then there's some not so great players, and there are some guys who are just really underperforming. Like, the biggest issue with this team, everyone gets so mad about Franmil, Franmil's the big focus, and Franmil has been dog poop. Like, there's no nice way to put it. He has been awful. He's now hitting 6th. Ahmed Rosario is hitting 2nd. Statistically, the most important spot in your lineup, going to a guy who has been barely better than Franmil Reyes. Like, that should have... And he's a bad defender. He's bringing nothing to the table. And to me, that is a bigger sin. That should be the bigger concern. It shouldn't be Franmil. It should be Rosario in the 2-hole. Move everyone up. It'd just be better for... Why is this team falling apart without Stephen Kwan? That's part of it. It's a huge change to the entire lineup when you put someone who's been that bad in that spot. Push. I'm just pushing it. I think neither guy is very good. I think based on a year ago, we'd think Ahmed would be the better choice, but it's a push. Third base, advantage Guardians. Sheldon News is an interesting guy. I liked him back in his Oklahoma days. Maybe it was Nebraska days. I'm going to get myself in trouble with this. One of the Big 12 schools. Leave it there. He came over in that, was it like Sean Doolittle? It was like him and Jesus Luzardo. And then was cut and now back. But the advantage Guardians, obviously. The Noose is playing well. We're even. Moving to center field. Christian Pache has the pedigree. He could end up being a better defender than Miles Straw. Miles Straw is a great defender. Pache could be even better. The bat has been a little stronger. I'm going to say advantage Guardians, but this is much like that Owen Miller, Seth Brown situation where those could flip. It could very easily change just because Pache's ceiling is so much higher. If you go back a year ago, before they made this, I mean, I did many Miles Straw trade things. You can also, I mean, there was nobody doing more of that than me through the past few years. You can see when I remember when Kevin Goldstein went to Fangraphs, and I was like, okay, my one question, like I jokingly said, hey, you're welcome to come on Locked On Guardians anytime. My only question is going to be is why won't Houston play Miles Straw? Or when I had the Houston host on the podcast, you can find that video. And I'm like, why isn't Miles Straw getting him chances? Like, and then I schooled him on Miles Straw. Like, I pulled up minor league data that he wasn't familiar with. You know, they're great dudes. It's not to insult anyone. It was just, that's how deep in the woods I was with Miles Straw. I didn't think Straw was going to happen because, you know, Houston, why would they trade their starting center fielder? So I focused on Pache in a similar vein. Like, okay, at least if you're defense first, you're going to bring something in that position. Long way of saying I still favor Straw for now. So that gives the Guardians a 1-point advantage. Move to left field, which has been a revolving door. It is with Kwan down. If Kwan's there, it's Cleveland. Without Kwan, it's Kemp in Oakland that has the advantage. Moving to right field, Piscotty. Piscotty was very nice of St. Louis to trade him to Oakland, be closer to his family. I thought that was a sweetheart deal at the time with Piscotty when he signed that. I thought that was one of those great team-friendly deals, just like I thought Eugenio Suarez's was. Both cases, I'm an idiot. It's advantage Cleveland with Naylor over Piscotty right now. I mean, Piscotty, it's a negative value contract. God, he's 31. It was one of my first drafts when he was I was very high on him. Like, at the time, it looked like a win because I thought he was a top 20 talent. Though I liked Richie Schaefer even more. That didn't work out. But, he's kind of had a weird curve of age and top-level performance. So that gives the Guardians a 1-point advantage. Moving to DH, it's advantage Cleveland. No, so here's the thing. Roster resource. List Billy McKinney as the DH. He's only played twice this week. Their primary DH has been a platoon. Christian Betancourt, one of the backup catchers, had 2 games at DH. You had 1 to Austin Allen. McKinney wasn't even a DH. You had 1 to Sean. They're carrying 3 catchers and essentially doing a catcher DH platoon. Christian Betancourt did 2 games there, and he's not good, at all. His runs created plus this year in a very limited sample size is 43. So it's advantage Cleveland just based on the history of Franmil. I know Franmil isn't good right now, but advantage Cleveland because Oakland doesn't have anything at all. And at least at one point Franmil was good, and I think he will recover. But yeah, so that's a 2-point advantage for Cleveland. Advantage rotations, Oakland. I made surprise people. Cole Irvin's been really good. Paul Blackburn's been statistically maybe their best pitcher. Frankie Montas is just building up that trade value. Dalton Jeffries, another guy I've been high on for years, really solid performer for them. I'll be curious to see when they need a 5th starter. Is it going to be Adam Oler, who they got in that Chris Bassett deal? Is it going to be AJ Puck, the top prospect who's been working out of their pen? They have a few choices there, but they have a better rotation. Cleveland's rotation is Bieber with down velocity and then a bunch of back-end arms right now. We're hoping someone will take that step. We're hoping Tristan McKenzie can go forward, can jump up and be a number 2, but I really don't think that Quantrell or Plesac or Savale are more than 3-4s. McKenzie is really your only hope for that front of the rotation type of starter in that grouping. So advantage. And then bullpen, it's almost a push. Danny Jimenez has been great. They're down Lou Trevino. Another injury. I mean, they're also a team that's beat up. Caprillion pitched this year, but man, he has not been able to stay healthy. Brett Honeywell is never healthy. Lariano is currently still suspended he's got to hit 27 games. And then Kevin Smith, who was one of the big pieces in the Chapman deal, he's hurt with a bone bruise, or he'd be starting on the infield for them. They are down some options. Bullpen-wise, Trevor Steffen's been really good. For as much at the start of the year, we were there's Clase, and then go look up. I'm hesitant to say go look up Savant data because it's such a small grouping. But I'm also kind of annoyed that Trevor Steffen has had 1 appearance in the last week. He needs reps. Get the guy some reps. It's not like the starters have been going super deep. But, almost no one has had more than 2. 2 appearances in the max in the last 7 days. But Trevor Steffen's been really good. So you got Clase and Steffen on the other side of things. I keep saying Steffen. It's Steven, right? Trevor Steven, not Steffen. Pronunciation. I feel like I'm always gonna be too much in my own head on it. Danny Jimenez has been really good for them. Zach Jackson has been good over the case of the year. Puck is a strong player. Acevedo, is he the one who had he's not. No, I don't think he's the one who had the issues in New York. But I want to say I was very high on him when he was an A-ball and was missing bats at a good rate and not walking anyone. So interesting arm there. So bullpen push. So Cleveland has a 2-point or 1-point advantage. So it's a very close game. But that's the thing. When I look at the pitching matchups, Savale versus Oler, right now I favor Oakland. Bieber versus Montas, right now I favor Oakland. Tristan McKenzie versus Irvin, I favor Oakland. I think you're hoping for 1 win in this one. Maybe 2. And that's not what I think people anticipate or expect, but that's just where I am. I'm thinking 1, hoping for 2, and really hoping this series doesn't end with me saying 10-game losing streak. We're going to take that next break here, come back and talk. I have a few questions from people that I unfavorited, so I'm not going to read them word for word, but I'll give some shout outs on them. And then we'll also do a quick stream around the minors, talking about some top performers for your Cleveland Guardians. And, there's not many times on the show where I've given you like the can't miss bet. 2 games a year ago, I got both of those right. And then the Stephen Kwan, which is still, we can just see the one upside to his health issue is now I don't have to feel so bad about not taking my own advice over at betonline.net, your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So behind baseball, I got to sit here and write down my tags for time so I don't have to go dig it out later. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day wherever you get podcasts. And this is episode 700. Please rate, review, do all that. Let's make this the biggest one we have had. It may not be a monumental one, but we'll start with questions. So J. Lewis Sports, at J Sports, sorry if I'm getting it wrong. I know he specifically said a pod question. And when I ran this podcast for the first time, I said your full name and everything, but then I clicked unfavorite because that's my way of knowing that I had done the question, so I didn't do it again later. But he brought up a really good point, which is this idea that, and someone, like how different really are Nolan Jones and George Valera, except for and then health. That Jones is healthier, and someone's like, Jones is healthier. It's like, yeah, George Valera has never played in 90 games in a season. He has had 80 odd games, 50 odd games. He's struggled mightily with health. And then to tag this one, Hollister commercial at Hollister Commer at, I want to say it was like J. Lewis Sports. I'm sorry. Hollister's was like, is it concerning that Valera doesn't have that many doubles? I was like, it's interesting. He had 19 home runs and 5 doubles last year. That's just odd. You don't see that a lot. He had 7 doubles. I mean, over his career, he's had 15 total doubles and 30 home runs. You normally see it like the other way. I don't know if it's concerning, but it's odd. Now, in terms of Jay's statement, it's like, I was like, he's onto something, because for as much as everyone, myself included, I've called Valera the top prospect in the system multiple times. He's a 246 hitter through the minors. He has struggled with contact. Now, he has a 386 on base. He walks at a good rate. I think he's got a little more power than Jones. I think he's going to be a better defender than Jones, and that's why I have him higher rated than Jones. But in terms of profile, there's a lot of similarity. I mean, these are guys who, if they hit 240 in the majors, that's an accomplishment. I don't think Valera or Jones are going to be that guy. You're betting on walks and power potential. And you can go like Fangraphs' free prospect rankings. You can read there are people who think that Valera is fool's gold. They think that he's not going to catch up to that lower zone pitch, and that he got, in some of his winter league action and through the course of the season, he got a little exposed. And there are people who are really off of him. Just like there's people who think, Gabriel Arias has a groove swing and it's not going to be successful. I'm in neither of those camps. Maybe I'll end up being wrong in both cases, but it is interesting, and I think Jay has a great point. He could very likely be right. I have Valera as the number one prospect in this system. I think the swing is going to generate power. I think he's going to walk enough. Jones was young when he was in Double-A, and Valera is a whole year younger, and he also just hasn't had the reps. Like, the health is a concern. It's an issue, but could the health also be a reason why there's more ceiling or growth potential in him? Potentially. He just hasn't had those opportunities to really show himself. He hasn't had all the reps to really see fully what he is. But credit to Jay. It's not something I would have thought of, and credit to Hollister Commercial. It's not something I would have thought of in that case either for either of those players in terms of their profile. And then, Tony, I know I said I was going to say your question. Oh, I do remember it. And I see your new question, Tony. So Tony's original question was, and I lost it in its back, Logan T. Allen, what's his future role? Some people say reliever. I still think starter. Like, the third pitch is good enough. It'll be good enough for it to be successful. It'll be, he's got the fastball slider combo. He's an excellent athlete. He was a two-way guy in college. When he wasn't pitching, he was a first baseman. I still fully believe in him. We'll talk about his numbers in a second. And then Tony asked today in the stream chat, first stream question ever to Tony, chances Espino or Williams join the rotation this year. Rotation is a 0. Williams isn't. I don't see them having any chance of bringing him up. Espino could be a reliever late in the year, but I still think very unlikely. Just because I think they're going to manipulate service time. I think that's still a thing for them, and there's not going to be a rush or push to bring either of them up. Specifically because, the top reliever in system, Nick Miklajak, needs to be added at the end of the year. Cody Morris will likely get a chance in the pen. Carlos Vargas will likely get a chance in the pen. I think those are the guys who'll get opportunities. I think Espino and Williams are very exciting. They're very interesting. And again, I've talked about that this rotation isn't that good. It's not terrible, but we got spoiled when we had 5 of the 20 best pitchers in the American League at one time. Right now we have one frontline starter, and then back end guys, and then one of those back end guys with a chance to be a front end guy. So I think Williams and Espino, we need some of that excitement. We need some of that ceiling. I think those are excellent prospects. Oh, speaking of excellent prospects, Hunter Gattis is going to come on the show. I'm finalizing that. Pitcher from Canton, Georgia. Big guy, built like a football player. It's draft night. I didn't watch any of it, but if you did, he is a huge human being who's pitching in Akron, and that's actually a perfect time to transition because, man, is Akron maybe the most interesting team in the minors right now? Their rotation has him. It has Tanner Burns. It has Logan T. Allen. It has Daniel Espino. It has, I'm blanking on the other part of that rotation. Xavion Curry has pitched in that rotation as well. You go through and you look at team leaders in ERA. By the way, Logan Allen 1, Espino 2. How about strikeouts? Allen and Espino are tied. You've got Curry at 5, and I forgot Joey Cantillo, who's 6th. Don't sleep on Cantillo. He's trying to prove himself. And Tanner Burns, who, again, and Hunter Gattis, who's been getting some innings and moving up the list. That's a really good rotation. That is legitimate. You could say for the outside of Gattis, those first 5 names, those are all players who are for sure top 30 prospects and maybe top 20 prospects in the entire system. Gattis is a very interesting prospect. I think he can make it. He might be more a reliever, but he's also got one of the loopiest secondary offerings in the system. So I'm not gonna give. And he's built like an innings eater. So he came from Georgia Southern, small school kid that they're still working with on. We'll see when I have him on. I'll talk about his velocity jump and what they're doing to maybe maintain it. But that's what's fun, right? They have some really interesting arms coming up. Savali, Plesac, they were not big prospects. They were not at all. So don't think that just because someone isn't maybe getting a ton of talk is a reason to look past them. In terms of offensive, in that same vein, Will Brennan currently leads the minors in average. He is the forgotten outfield prospect. Joe Naranjo in Lake County is out hitting John Kenzie Noel. He has been the guy in the minor leagues. He's putting up sick numbers. Him and Noel each have 4 home runs. You know who else has 4 home? Oscar Gonzalez leads the minors with 5. Jose Fermin. He's never going to get a chance because of how badly he's buried. But go back to when I was talking about the Angels deal. I'm asking for Fermin as a third piece if I'm the Angels. I need more infield prospects. All this kid has done is hit and have great contact rates at every level. He's always been buried because there's so many players in this system that are bigger names. He is exactly the type of guy, if I ran a team, I'd be trying to extradite and give an opportunity. If I need a middle infielder, let's give the kid a try who has done everything right and has performed across the board. How about the fact that RBIs are a trash stat, but Richie Palacios is still tied for first in that category. Milan Tolentino and Jake Fox, last 2 draft classes for those two. Second and third on-base percentage. How about Fox being second in the system in walks in general? Oscar Gonzalez, I don't know what to make of him. I don't know if I ever will know what to make of him. He might just be a complete, unicorn specialty type. he just keeps performing. I don't know how you make space to give him an opportunity. I kind of wish they called him up when they had all their COVID issues. Like, that would have been the time to see what he could do. Give him a few weeks. But that didn't happen. Now that I've said it out loud, I'm even more upset that didn't happen. But yeah, he just keeps hitting, and I don't know if he's ever going to get an opportunity. He also leads the minors in triples and home runs. And not doubles. He's just tied for third there. But yeah, it's, the pitching is interesting in Akron. You also have George Valera down in Akron. Or did he get the call up? No, he's down there. Tyler Freeman got the call to Columbus. It's frustrating if you were a fan of the Guardians. It's very frustrating if you were a fan of the Guardians right now. But what's exciting is those minors. And it's coming. And it's coming quickly. And they got to give players opportunities. They got to see what they have, because Jones isn't healthy yet. But soon you're going to have Jones and Freeman and Arias down there. You're going to have Valera in Double-A. You're going to have Bo Naylor's there. Lavastita's in Triple-A. They're just, the talent is getting gummed up. They're blocking each other, and it's a nice problem to have. But it is more exciting in some regards just to see who could be the next big thing. Stephen Kwan looks so good, and that's what stinks so much about his injury, because it completely changed the way this lineup was. It completely changed how the team was going, and it just changed the excitement for the Guardians. And finding who's the next guy who can step up and fill in, I don't think we're going to see a big trade. I talk about why it made sense to maybe go out and trade for someone like Joe Adell. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to be trying that internal talent from now until the end of the season. This is not the contention year. This is the setup year. They got their core pieces locked in for 7 years. They're likely to trade Shane Bieber this offseason. And then we'll see about what they can do with the rest. I mean, I think they're hoping that players will start stepping up. And I think, honestly, it's like 2024 is when the window really starts. Not what you want to hear, but remember, often teams overachieve, and there's always a hope. And it's when they get healthy, I think, and start figuring it out a little bit more. I still think this is a potential wild card team. I'll stick by that. People can call me a homer, whatever. I think they have enough really good players to fall into that situation to at least compete for that. And then here we go. It's a long episode. It's episode 700. I just want to take a moment and thank everyone. Thank every listener. Thank everyone who's left a review on iTunes, who has downloaded an episode, who subscribes over here on YouTube, who takes time. I can sit there and talk with my co-hosts, and many of them get a lot of trash treatment from people, get a lot of bad, negative interactions. I have had one mean iTunes review. And there's been a few people occasionally on the Twitter where it's like, I'm going to roll away. But it's, for the most part, it's like 99% of the Guardians fans and the Locked On Guardians fan base are just stellar human beings. And I really do appreciate that about all of you. I just want to thank you all. I said it at the top, and I'll stay here at the end. I wouldn't have done 700 episodes if it wasn't for the listeners and the fans who kept me going when this was a podcast. Where, some behind baseball some more. It's like, the first year, if I got $30 a month, I was lucky for, 20 odd episodes. So it's grown, it's doing better, it's continued to do better. There's been points in time where it looked like maybe I wouldn't be able to keep this podcast, but thanks to the listeners out there who download, listen, help drive the numbers, showing that I am valued in this position is one of the reasons I've gotten to stay host for 700 episodes of this very show. So I just want to thank you all out there who have done anything, and I'll continue to say, download daily, tell a friend, subscribe on the iTunes or on the iTunes and the YouTubes, and just thank you all. It's been a real honor to do 700 episodes. I'm sure there's been ups and downs through it all, but the fans, you all out there, are incredible, and thank you. Bottom of my heart, I mean that. Thank you. I wouldn't still be here without the fans, between just keeping me going, positive interactions, and just showing that this podcast is valuable to the Guardians fan base. I have been Jeff Ellis. This is the Locked On Guardians podcast, not the Locked On Bardians Godcast. I think I was going to spoonerism there. It's late. Hey, this is my second take because the stream didn't work the first time. But I appreciate everyone. I've been talking for an hour, okay? The cops are going to come. But I appreciate all of you, and again, want to thank you. I've been Jeff Ellis. This is the Locked On Guardians, episode 700. Thank you all so very much yet again. And as I end every episode, go Guardians, go.